What's going on, everyone? Alex Da Silva
and Lucy Kaya from Happy as Larry Group. And happy Tuesday, everyone. It's Tuesday today.
It is Tuesday.
It's definitely Tuesday. The sun's shining. It's not raining and cold like it was yesterday, because it was like October yesterday, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Really
it was not
cold.
very good. Yeah, it wasn't nice at all.
It's a beautiful evening.
It
we're doing a video together.
What is the topic today, Luce?
Oh my God, it's relationships.
Yeah,
Relationships. It's a very diverse subject.
Yeah.
Relationships. So.
But it's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
We're actually really
Hopefully
excited.
we won't end up having a row about it.
Yeah, well, listen, we've been talking about doing one of these for a while, and I think things happen for a reason. And over the last couple of days, there's been a lot of signs to say, do this video.
Yeah.
So we are, and here we go. So let's just kind of start it off. What is it? What's a relationship? It's pretty simple. It's just a way two people or two things connect. Simple as that. And it's a state of being connected. I think that's a really nice way of putting it. And it's such a beautiful thing, you know. It can be a really beautiful thing, can't it? Mm-hmm. It really can. I love talking about it. And yeah, I guess this is going to be a really interesting one for us. And Lucy's going to she's going to kick us off.
Yeah. So why do we have relationships? Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think that obviously there is a biological reason why we have relationships. If we weren't hardwired to have relationships in terms of loving relationships with partners, then the race would not continue. Mm-hmm. So it's born within us as a primal instinct to procreate and to have relationships with other human beings of either the opposite sex or the same sex, whatever whatever is in your biological makeup. Mm-hmm. To connect with someone in a loving relationship, mm-hmm. then that's what your primal instinct will tell you to do. But also, obviously, there's not just a male-female relationship, male-male relationship, female-female, whatever relationship it is that you desire. There's obviously different types of relationships as well. Relationships you have with friends, relationships you have with your family, and also, so this is a really important one that I wanted to bring up in this video, was really, I would say, the most important relationship that you will have, and that is the relationship you have with yourself. Yeah. And I wanted to make that really clear in this video, didn't I? Because it is it's an awesome subject to talk about, and we can talk about, any kind of advice that we've had from, things that we've encountered in our relationship, and how we might be able to regurgitate that for you guys. But and also, if your friendship is not doing great, or maybe you're suffering with a family member or whatever it is. But I think what to bring it back to is that the most and the key relationship that you will have, and that you will have for the rest of your life, no matter where you go, you can't run from it, is a relationship that you have with yourself. And I think it's really, really important to maintain that as the most important relationship you will have your entire life. Yeah,
absolutely. We talk about this quite a lot, and which is the reason why we've been really looking forward to doing this one, because the relationship with self, as Lucy said, is so key. And I think it has that ripple effect on everything else you do as well, And the reason we're going to talk about that as well is because we're going to give you some real key pointers to make all other relationships just work healthily, and just to keep things simple. So I quite like this one. What is a relationship today and how it used to be? I'm a bit of a romantic, and I'm going to tell you a little story. So when I was little, actually it does take me back to when I was little. I shared this with Lucy, and it's quite interesting because we shared sort of the same thing. But I saw my grandparents, have a relationship, and they met when they were teen. I think my grandmother must have been 17, my grandfather 18. They got married by the time my grandmother was 18 and he was 19. So, and they were together for the rest of their lives. They were married for almost 70 years. They had 13 kids. I always say 14 because then that includes me as well. My grandparents kind of brought me up, and they were incredible human beings. You know, they went through the thick and the thin. You know, they were born in Brazil. They were born from you know, in a real poor family, and one of the things that I learned and experienced was what true love is, what a real strong relationship is built on, and it's built on some really strong foundations. You know, and these guys had it. And you know, my grandmother was an incredible human being. You know, as a woman, she was just an absolutely incredible woman. And you know, my granddad was a typical man. You know, he was a typical man. He was you know, especially back in those days, he was the breadwinner. You know, he was the breadwinner. He'd went out. He'd make the money, and you know, my grandmother brought up all the kids, including myself. But one of the things that I realized from back then, you know, as I said, they were married from, you know, from teens up until they passed away. My grandfather went first, and then my nan passed away of a broken heart. And listen, you can't write love stories like this, you know, and I was very blessed to be able to watch this. Now, what I've also been able to watch is relationships today. How different is it from what I just described to what it is today? And in some cases, and even through my personal experience, I'm not here to say that I'm an absolute angel, but relationships are a lot different. You know, they're a lot easier to get away from, you know, and I think people are in, you know, we're in an environment today where women don't just sit at home and they just become mothers and, you know, and housekeepers. They go out, they earn, they're successful, you know, they're entrepreneurs, and this is the thing, and this is the world that we live in today. And I think what has happened, there's been a little bit of a shake-up, but in a sense where people have kind of lost sort of like their way to be, isn't it? There's been a bit of I'm not sure the sort of word that I'm looking for, but there's definitely been a little bit of a change where, do you know what it is? It's independence. People have just become a lot more independent, you know?
And everything is, like the next point we're going to move on to, everything is at your fingertips in this society today.
Yeah.
And everything is so fast paced, and we are conditioned to want better and better and better and better. Bigger, better, more beautiful, more money, more better job, more bigger car, what, you know, and that's how we're conditioned in today's society, whether we like it or not. And I think that's why that's impacted relationships as well, compared to how they used to be when you're talking about your nana and granddad.
Yeah.
The same with my nan and granddad, you know, they stayed together for 50 years, they were married for 50 years. You know, they marry, when they married back in those days, they married because they were only marrying that one person. In today's society, you know, it's not really seen like that, really. I mean, people will know that they can just get out of it whether they wanted to. Whether if they really wanted to, they could just get out of it. And a lot of people don't always see it as a forever and ever to the day you die. And that's really unfortunate. That's really sad.
I think we'd like to. I think most people would like to see it as that. I think people, you know, especially... I think
it's more society that tells people that it doesn't have to be forever and ever.
Yeah, it's true, but
and I think
changed.
That's why I'm saying that's why the relationships today are different, because the society tells people that actually you don't have to stay with someone for the rest of your life.
No, it's not true.
It's not frowned upon to have a divorce. It's not.
No.
And
it's
so,
common.
But so and there's so many people that do it, and you know that it might have to be that way for some people. We're not saying that, you know, stay in a loveless marriage or anything like that. However, as a whole, you know, the relationships are different, and that kind of leads us on to the next point is, you know, has technology impacted relationships? And like I mentioned a minute ago, that technology now is so advanced, and it's advancing by the day. And I guess when I talk about technology, is what I know is kind of social media, and having things at our fingertips all the time, really easily. And I think that has really impacted relationships in the way that it's acceptable to always be looking for that bigger and better and nicer thing. And it's not just social media, it's also the desire to have a better car, or the desire to have a better job that is it's advanced in terms of technology.
It's
and
materialistic
things, and that technology is okay. It's okay to want things that work in that sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because relationships now are driven a lot of the times by materialism. You know, I've spoken to so many friends, and I'm sure you have as well. You know, especially when you're kind of taught either with men or women nowadays, actually doesn't matter, where you know they need to have a certain amount of job, they need to earn X, and they need to have a house, and they need to have X car, and they need to have this, and listen, some of these things are great, and listen, sometimes they are important, but to what extent? You know, what extent are you chasing somebody that has all of these things? And then how many times and ask yourself this question, if you're sitting there watching this, how many times have you walked into a relationship chasing those things, and then it turns out that the person you're with, man or female, turned out to be a complete dick? And you know, and I'm sure that's happened to a hell of a lot of people. And I think this is the reason why statistics say divorce is just getting higher and higher and higher. You know, and the only people laughing at the end of this are the lawyers, because you know people just give up a lot easier now. You know, and you mentioned about technology. I was just going to say the media is a huge thing as well. You know, the way people portray relationships now. You know, where you've got these game shows and you know and other programs which I refuse to mention. You know what I mean? Where that's what it's all about. You know, this is how you build a relationship. It's all about, you know, it's about the kind of the fame, and it's about materialism, and people that don't have, you know, the car, the money, and all of these things. When people are actually looking for real love, sometimes these people end up falling into some real bad traps. You know what I mean? And living this fake life, or actually just going into a really bad depression and anxiety, and thinking that they're never going to find the right person because they don't fit that mold.
Yeah.
You know, which is, yeah, so it's which kind of brings us to the next thing. Have we lost our spark? What do you think? No, I don't. We definitely haven't.
I thought you was asking us that question. Then.
No.
Have we lost our spark?
No.
Overall, I think that a lot of individuals, I think, have lost their spark in terms of what is naturally your spark as a person, because we get clouded by all this technology and wanting bigger and better things and materialistic stuff. We forget about what actually is just really kind of basic human needs, and human needs is to be loved and to love someone, and it's as simple as that. And that doesn't have to involve things. It doesn't have to involve you know, expensive gifts, or going to expensive restaurants, or being taken away on a fancy holiday and spending loads of money on someone, buying someone diamonds, or buying someone a really expensive watch, or you know, whatever it is. Because actually we are just made out of what is right here me now, if that makes sense. You know, the clothes that I wear and the jewelry that I wear, it doesn't really make me who I am. And I think a very important point to say is, like, we have to remember that a relationship, a loving, lasting relationship with someone isn't based on what they have or what they do for a job, or how much money that they earn. It's how kind and loving and genuine they are in their soul as a person, and what that authenticity that they can show you, which you can't buy.
No, exactly.
And that's, you know.
It's true, and I think this is what the thing is. And we asked this question to you as well. You know, has your relationship lost its spark? And my belief is, yeah. I think a lot of relationships, and I hear this, you know, especially lately, you know, relationships are losing their spark because we're looking for the wrong thing. You know, we're looking for the wrong thing, and we're not looking for. We want love. We want love, we want affection, we want the things that spiritually makes us feel incredible, you know, that brings that spark, that passion and that enthusiasm, the smile, you know, but society, media, tells us otherwise. You know, this is what we should aim for. And
but I think, just to cut in there, you know, when going back to my previous point about you the relationship with self, and you saying, you know, have we lost the spark, and how do we look for that spark? And we're looking for that spark in the wrong ways. We're looking for things rather than really, again, going back to yourself and realizing if your relationship with someone else has lost their spark, it's most probably because you've lost that spark with yourself.
Yeah, spot
and
on.
you've forgotten about who you are. You've forgotten about what you like. You might have been swept away and enthralled by this relationship which has lost its spark because you've lost who you are. And I think it's really important to make very clear that you can only have a relationship, a loving relationship with someone, when you have that loving relationship with yourself. And as cheesy as that sounds, it's very true.
It's so true.
It's you have to have that spark with yourself before you can even think about finding that spark again with someone. So if you're, I keep saying spark, but if that spark in your relationship is lost as you define it to be lost, it's not about looking for it in that relationship. It's about looking at yourself first and realising, where have I lost myself? Why has this happened? And then if that relationship doesn't work out, then that's how it was meant to be. But I think that's what the problem is most of the time, is that you lose yourself because you get so caught up in that relationship.
Yeah, it's very true. And then we end up trying to find that in someone else, don't we? And then what generally happens as well is then we start having expectations of that person, and and when they don't meet those expectations, then it fails. But instead of actually exactly what Lucy just said, is instead of looking at us and looking at what's important for us and learn, even if we're not self-loving, if we're not doing that, but then we're expecting somebody else to fulfill that, then it's it's doomed. It's going to fail, because it's no one's responsibility to love anyone. It's not anyone's responsibility to love you other than you. So yeah, absolutely.
And that's where it has to start, isn't it?
Yeah,
and,
it's key.
I think that moves on to, are we more jealous and controlling? Because I think that can happen in a relationship, and it can be such an easy thing to fall into without addressing it. And then what happens is, whoever it is that's doing it in the relationship will get used to behaving that way. The other person will get used to that happening to them. So then that toxic tango just starts, and it continues over and over and over again. And both of those people in that relationship think that it's normal for it to be like that. When really, when you're in a relationship with someone, it should be loving and trusting and healthy and open. You communicate with each other, which we'll move on to a bit later. But that jealousy and controlling in a relationship is an absolute no-no, because you're not going to have a trusting relationship with someone who you are constantly feeling jealous towards. Or you want to control. And the thing is, if that comes up, because I'm not saying that's not happened to me, in my past relationships I was so jealous and I would want to control that person. But now I've obviously realised that I have that problem. That's something I've had to do a lot of work on. That's nothing to do with the other person, because I spent a long time blaming other people for that issue. And yes, things happen to me to cause me to not trust and all the rest of it. However, it's in my power to change that and to alter my past in terms of how I will behave in the future. Because through having therapy, through working on myself, through facing up to my demons, and actually through being honest with myself about how much I used in terms of my behaviours, how much I used that as an excuse to be jealous, that it's okay to behave that way because so and so cheated on me or so and so treated me badly. It has to come to a point where that has to stop, because it will continue this cycle of toxic relationships. That's all I would have attracted into my life. That's all I would have attracted had I continued with that. And it wasn't easy to realise it.
No, it's not, and this is it. But we have to go through that journey. And listen, I've been on the other side, where I've been on both sides, where what you were saying before, and I've also been on a side where I wasn't the best boyfriend at times, and I was misbehaving and I was doing things that were really stupid and really uncaring and really selfish as well. But listen, no one's perfect, and we're not trying to paint the picture that, listen, you've got to be this perfect person. That's not the case. The most beautiful thing that life gives us is experience. It's incredible. and this is the thing, through every single good or bad experience, if you can turn that around and make it into something positive, then this is where you grow, and that's what this is all about, and it's understanding exactly what Lucy was talking about, is having those experiencing relationships, whether they've been good or bad, whether you've been the person that's caused the pain or not, or whether you've been hurt or whether you've caused a hurt. It's about coming out the other side and saying, what do I need to change? Because all I keep doing is I keep going round and round in circles and finding the same type of women, or in Lucy's case, we'll be going round and round in circles finding the same type of man. And that's where we need to take responsibility as an individual, which comes about the self-love and the self-care. And it's understanding, okay, where do I need to change? And kind of brings us to the next topic, which is a really important one as well. Have we become really insecure and actually really dependent on other people? The answer for me is, do you know what? I think so. Yeah. I think because we've forgotten completely about who we are as individuals, and because we do want to receive love and we want to give love, we're so desperate at times in order to do these things that, you know what? We sacrifice ourselves. And by sacrificing ourselves, we sacrifice the most important thing. And then what happens is exactly what we just described, is where you're going round and round in circles.
Well, because you don't have the healthy relationship to offer to someone.
Exactly.
So how can you expect to get that healthy relationship back?
Yeah.
Whatever we have within ourselves, we project out and we mirror and we attract things into our lives that are gonna be a similar place where we are in ourselves, whether we like it or not. That's why those relationships are like a pattern of behaviour, and they continue and continue and continue until you have a moment where you have a moment of clarity where you think, oh my God, I'm always jealous, I'm always controlling. That, the jealousy has happened between us, and I had to see it for what it was, and take control of the situation and realise that if I continue to behave like that, there is a fair chance that I will end up messing up the relationship, because it's such a toxic emotion to feel about someone, and that's what I was feeling. So I had to then go and seek help from a professional to work through that stuff. And it's a continue. I work on it every single day. I have to, because that's because of things that have happened in my past that I work through. But I see what my behaviours are. I take responsibility for that, and I work on them. Yeah,
and likewise, I do exactly the same. Insecurity is one of my things, and sometimes I even found sometimes the dependence because of not sort of previous relationships with other women, but even with parents. That was one of the things for me with my mum, the relationship I had with her, and that's kind of caused some insecurities and things that that I'm looking at. But we work together on things, and we talk a hell of a lot. And this is the most important thing, with regards to a relationship. It's about starting with you, and I think you're getting the point here, is look after yourself, get to know you first, because it's so important, and it makes such a huge difference, doesn't it, when you start to understand who you are. Do you know why? Because once you do, you stop making the same fucking mistakes, and what you then do is you stop attracting the same type of people, whether it's a man or a woman, and you start to realize that the person you've always wanted has always been there, or she's always been there, but all that, the only thing that stopped you from getting there has always been you. Because, as Lucy said, it's almost this weird thing, isn't it? We attract our mirror. And what we then do is when we get into these relationships and we're going, what the hell am I doing? It sounds really cool, because then when you're sitting there when everything is all nice and new, we've got so much in common, everything is so great, it's so lovely. And next thing you know, you kind of go, oh my God, I just want to shoot myself. But
I think, I just want to say, actually, and this is a lot of things that I've seen in other people as well, and now with the company that we work, that we have together, we meet a lot of people, we see a lot of people and the way they behaved, and my studies with my psychology and the work that I'm doing with that as well. We see a lot that people go into a relationship And it's like you said, it's like so great and everything's like we're getting so well and we're so connected and it's the person I've been looking for and they understand me and everything's so much fun and everything's great. And then a week later, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. That person snores really loud, or they've got a pimple on their bum, or there'll be something that doesn't fit the perfection frame that person is looking for.
The expectation.
And then what happens is that person just sees everything else as a negative. Everything else, that they might have a bit of a hairy bum, or they might say something, or they might speak with their mouth full, or whatever it is. Some really trivial, minor things that don't change the way that person is inside.
No, it's true.
But that person will then use that as an excuse to walk away and to look for someone else. And I think that happens so often, and it goes back to that point that we made about people not sticking around and not trying to work on things and trying to push through those first difficult barriers of getting to know someone and getting to know how they tick, or they might have annoying habits. I have annoying habits. I'm not perfect. I might like to think I am sometimes, but I'm not. And I think people just don't accept that. They just get bored and they move on, and they expect the next person who is going to fulfill them. And that will happen over and over and over again.
Or they do the opposite, or they do the other, which is they think that they can change that person. I can help you change. So then you become controlling, and or you shouldn't hang around with those friends. I think you shouldn't wear this, or you shouldn't wear that, or maybe you should wear this. I think this looks really nice on you, and I think you should stop behaving that way, or maybe you should stop saying these things. You're really embarrassing. I think you talk too much. So these are just some little examples. Yep. So these are just, and I'm just kind of reeling stuff off here, but and these are things that. Listen, we can reel them off, and if you're watching this video, I'm sure you can make some notes of things that people have said to you in a controlling way, and thought that this is how you should change. You don't need to change. If you do, then look at that yourself. Don't let somebody else tell you that you need to change. That's your responsibility. And the thing is as well, the person that's telling you what to do, it's because they have problems themselves. It's because they need to look at themselves, and they need to understand something's not quite right here. And what they're doing is that they're seeing that in you, and what they're doing is that they're trying to change you in order to try and fix them. It's just their way of coping, and this is where it becomes really toxic.
Yeah, and I think, but an important point to make at that point is that there is a difference between it being someone who's trying to control you, or when you start to form a loving, communicative relationship with someone where you sit down and you set boundaries with each other.
Oh God, yeah, that's
completely different. And that we will move on to that. And I think a very important point to make is that I think you will know when someone's trying to control you, compared to someone actually saying, "Look, this is my boundary. I would rather you not speak to me like that," or I would rather that you did behave quite badly in that situation. That I would like you to respect me a little bit more. There is a difference.
Yeah.
That isn't that, because there can be that element to the fear of someone trying to control that other person.
But today we have those boundaries.
We do.
We talk about things.
But we do. But because of, I would mention this actually, because people might relate to this, because you have been through controlling situations in the past, it can sometimes get confusing. Like it has to be very clear that we're having this is a loving chat talk that we're having, and to communicate in the right way that this isn't about me trying to change you. This is me saying respectfully, I would like it if whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point, because I do, and I'll mention this maybe for the guys or even women, whoever. This is not gender specific, but I take things really personally, and in a sense where if Lucy was to say something to me, listen, baby, you shouldn't have said this, or because sometimes I'm very quick to make comments, not 21 specific. I'm just sometimes I'm very open with how I am. Let's use driving for example. And sometimes I might just blurt something out. Lucy would after turns around and say to me afterwards, listen, baby, you don't have to say these things, and it's something very small. I can kind of expand on this, but I'm using something small. Usually, just by her saying something like this, to me, would make me think, why are you telling me what to do? That's the first thing that pops into my head. I'm my own man. You don't need to tell me what to say. And actually, all she's doing is actually pointing something really honest, is that it's not in my behavior to be judging somebody, to be calling somebody names or whatever it might be. These are examples. But if, and all she's doing is she's seeing my true nature. And that's the difference. If someone's seeing something and they're just having that loving conversation with you and pointing an example and saying, listen, it doesn't really sound like you. Because actually sometimes these actions, and when, looking back at some of these things that even I've done, it's actually quite ugly. And, in fact, it's helped me to look at some of my behaviors and how I am. And, and then kind of vice versa as well, even with you, some of the things and how you are. And which I guess brings us to the next thing. How is your relationship? Is it healthy or is it unhealthy?
What is healthy and what is unhealthy? Unhealthy relationship is, as a generalisation, it's dysfunctional. But like we were saying before, it's someone who is controlling, who is abusive, they put the other person down. One thing to really make clear about this actually is that when someone behaves that way, it's because it's how they feel about themselves. And I know you did kind of say that in what you were saying earlier, but it really is about how they feel about themselves that they're projecting onto the person that's closest to them. Is there cheating going on in the relationship? Has the passion been lost? Which can go with all these things that are happening. People, when you're in a relationship that's dysfunctional, you're not going to want to have that kind of connection with that person. Also, no communication. I didn't realise until we got into our relationship how so important it is to communicate with your partner. And a lot of people avoid that. A lot of people don't have conversations with their partner because they would rather just sweep it under the carpet and everything will be all right. If we just tell each other we love each other, it'll be fine. It will go away.
Or just let time pass and then eventually we'll be all right. Trust me, it won't. It
might be okay for that evening, but a few days or week down the line, it will come out because it hasn't been resolved. And these things have to be resolved. And I am the one that brings about these conversations at the moment. But that's I don't know. We have different strengths in the relationships. I think that's worth saying actually. That for me is that I understand now, having had my lots of therapy myself, but also doing my training with being a therapist. I have the very, very healthy foundation where I know that it's so important to talk about things, even if it feels horrible, even if you would rather stick hot pins in your eyes, you still have to do it because that shows that you have enough respect and love for yourself, and that you have enough respect and love for that other person. You're willing to put yourself out there and to be vulnerable in front of this person and to sit down and say, one thing we've done was a relationship inventory. You sit down with 10 questions and you ask each other these questions. And you answer them honestly, and they're not easy questions. They're not questions you'll ask your partner every day.
It's true.
But we do it because we know that we value our relationship with each other so much that we're willing to push through this pain. It is painful.
It is, and of course it is. And listen, it's working at stuff. It's just working on things. Humans are listen, we're great at just not fronting things. And one of the things I'm working on at the moment, as Lucy said, sometimes when it comes down to, we don't argue a lot. Do you know what I mean? We have words every now and then, but you know what? If something that needs to be communicated, for me, because of past trauma and things that I'm now understanding, and I'm going to start working through some of these things, is confrontation for me is not easy. It really, really isn't. And for me, the first thing that happens to me is I bottle it up, and I just wait for things to die down. But that's because of fear. These are things that I've experienced in my past, things that have happened. And I'm understanding that today this is different, and it's toxic because it doesn't leave until, we communicate through it. And one of the things I am doing, and again, this is another thing, having the patience with each other, working together, not putting blame on each other, because that's unhealthy.
Talking from the I position all the time.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Not you, when you did this, you made me feel. That's not how it is.
And it's just being able to allow the other person, and Lucy's good with that. She understands that with me, these things take a little bit of time, and she is kind in the sense where she kind of approaches it with me. I know sometimes it's not always easy. Not that it happens all the time, but I know for myself that, as I start working through these things just get easier. Why? Because again, it's facing fear, and it's just moving through those uncomfortable little steps. But once you take a few steps and you start to become comfortable, then things then become, a little bit easier.
And you're building up trust, aren't you?
Absolutely.
As well? You're building up trust towards me as well. I know we say that we do trust each other, but there still will be that when it comes to this stuff of sitting down and communicating with each other, if you've only ever been used to someone who's going to scream in your face or call you names or try and get one over on you or try and manipulate you, you're not automatically going to think, I'm going to be able to talk to this person. It takes time to realise that the only reason that a conversation will be asked to have is to work through things in a loving and respectful way. It's not about pointing the finger at someone. There may well be an issue that might have been identified in the relationship that might be a talking point, the point of the conversation. However, it's not about blaming that other person fully for having that conversation. It's about sitting down and saying, how do we work through this together?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not you that has to change. It's not you that needs to you. It's not how it works. It's what do we do as a couple? Individually, what do we do and how do we work together on this? And keep talking it through.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it takes effort. A relationship takes effort and maintenance, and not in a oh god or a horrible sense.
Dragging way.
Not like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
In a way that you love each other, you respect each other so much, you want to give each other that time to make it work, and not make it work like that. Yeah.
It's pushing through, isn't it? It's just pushing through those little fears, and I think that's what it is, isn't it? With a lot of couples, it's that what we were talking about before, the insecurity, are they going to leave, or, and this is it. Front these things, face them, put it in there, have those communications, because the thing is, you know what, if you have that communication with that person, man or woman, and you're honest and you want to bring it to the table, the person doesn't want to talk to you and you persist because you love them, and when you want to have these this healthy relationship and this healthy communication, if you keep pushing, the other person doesn't, well, there's your answer, and it's about looking at these things, isn't it, as well? It's looking at, also it's looking at putting the boundaries in places. There's nothing you can do here. This just isn't for you.
You can't keep banging your head against the wall, can you?
Exactly.
And then that kind of leads us on to, does the relationship, if unhealthy relationships is, there's no commitment with that person. There's no respect, and we were talking about that with the communication aspect, but also how you view that other person. If you don't respect that person, then there's no point in you being with each other.
Yeah. And respect is if you don't even have the respect to openly and honestly speak to someone, then just don't be in it. Do you see what I mean? And I think, and learn from that as well. Don't just kind of, and this is another thing, because we don't want to teach you to just go, oh, walk away. It's putting these things into practice, but it's also being honest with yourself. If deep down this is not the right thing for you, then make a decision. Because the thing is, the worst thing you can do is not only drag yourself through this, but you're dragging the other person as well. And that's what it's unfair, because, it's about being kind and loving, not only to yourself, but also respecting the other person. And that's where that respect thing comes from. And I just wanted to kind of mention that, because sometimes it's important, isn't it? How many people go through, years and years of, relationship, and it's what you were saying before about getting one up on each other and so on and so forth. And it ends really, really badly. And it's not good, We're talking about, and the next thing we were going to lead on to is about violence and, being in these toxic relationships. It's not healthy, It really isn't healthy. And I think it's, again, listen, it's one of these things that it's really, really hard, because the reality is what, these things happen, it really happens. And looking at all sides is there is always a reason why somebody behaves in a certain way, you know, and violence is not acceptable it's just not, you know, you just don't tolerate it, you know, simple as that. But one of the things that I have found is when two people are in that relationship, it means that they're both seeking each other for the same reason, you know. And generally what tends to happen between those toxic relationships is the codependence thing, isn't it? You know, you're kind of attracting yourself to each other, you're bound, but then you can't break out of that. And there is a lot more into it, and I think that's probably a completely different video. But just look after yourself. I think if anything, you know, and again, man or woman, look after yourself, be kind to yourself, be honest with yourself. And if you are in a relationship, you know, that, you know, involves any form of abuse or violence, get some help, you know, reach out, because again, self-love, self-care, this is all about you first, you know. So and I guess it creates everything else, doesn't it? You know, it's kind of jealousy, dishonesty, you know, unhappiness.
And that's to be stressed out, and also, you know, there's all the obvious things that we've spoken about, you know, someone being controlling, someone being abusive, someone being violent, which is really just an obvious dysfunctional relationship. But someone can be passive aggressive in a relationship as well, and that's not always easy to detect. Also from the person that they're being passive aggressive to. You know, they may outwardly be being violent or abusive or cheating or whatever, but the other person may well be being passive aggressive, which is, it's two bad things that are coming together. They're trying to make something good, which is not ever going to work. And I think, you know, that kind of in a nutshell that defines dysfunctional relationships, unhealthy relationships.
Yeah. So let's move on to
a nicer,
the really nice one.
Healthy relationships.
Yeah, because it brings a lot more smiles, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Which is nice.
But it has to be. Only will you start to get healthy relationships when you start to have a healthy relationship with yourself, because you may well meet that man that is, oh my God, he's amazing, he's so great, he's doing this, he's doing that, everything's amazing, and then within a week it's like you can see all of his faults and you pick all the things wrong with him, and that is because, again, you haven't sorted all your stuff out. It will keep happening over and over again until you look at yourself and sort yourself out and do work on yourself. So you will only be able to have an open relationship with someone, and, you know, have a good channel of communication with someone when you have that with yourself, when you've opened up to yourself, when you've allowed yourself to be open. And that doesn't mean like an open book for everyone to see everything about you, because then that's called zero boundaries. But open and honest with yourself, caring with yourself, care about yourself before you can care for someone else. That will only come about when you start caring for you. You will be able to care for someone, and then you will be able to find a relationship that is caring too. And loving, a loving relationship with someone. There's a lot of things that you can get from the word loving.
You can get loads of things, can't you?
A loving relationship, and loving means all of those things: respectful, caring, nurturing yourself and nurturing the relationship. And a loving relationship is something that it defines all of these things, I think.
It's being considerate, being passionate, and being committed to the other person. And I just want to mention this as well. By the way, this is not just a loving relationship. This is, with friends, parents, colleagues. Again, this is relationships between two people. This is really, really important, because all of the things that we described, this happens, across all different types of relationships. And it's really, really important, isn't it, to understand these things, and be honest and be independent, which is kind of looking at yourself. So,
being independent is so important.
Yeah.
So important, because in the past I made the mistake of meeting someone and giving up everything I wanted to do. forgetting who I was, not seeing my friends, not having ambition for myself, not having dreams for myself, following that person around, just losing who I was. And I think when you meet someone who you can have a healthy relationship with, it's okay to be independent. It's okay to have your own friends. It's okay to do your own thing. It's okay to be you and to be independent and to want to do things on your own as well. Like to not always want to be
in each other's pocket
with each other all the time, because then that is unhealthy, and you will end up arguing with that person because you've not got your own independence. It's so important to have your own independence. Yeah,
no, definitely. I completely agree. I don't need to kind of touch too much on that because it's really true. You know, I think, and I found that with Lucy and I, you know, just being able to do things together, you know, when we hang out, sometimes we just do nothing, or we go to the gym together, you know, and this is something I've never had in a relationship, you know, being able to train with someone. We own a business together, so there's a lot of things we do together, but there is also a lot of, do you know what, tonight, baby, I need my own time, and this is for both of us. And it's so healthy, because sometimes, and you do need your own space, you know, you do need your own space, and
my own time.
Yeah, your own little time.
TV.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when I'm not here, because then I don't judge. But yeah, and listen, you know, good things about relationship as well. The other person's protective. You know, not protective in the sense of, oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. Is yeah, not from a smothering perspective, but it comes from that caring and loving place. You know, who doesn't want, you know, a man to put their arm around a woman and make a woman feel safe? Every woman desires that. Every woman wants that. Again, you know, but even from the other perspective, you know, every man loves their mum. So, you know, there is that caring, you know, that loving.
Meatballs.
Mama's meatballs, yeah, exactly. Which Lucy makes, they're amazing. And, you know, so, and it is, everything is about communication. You know, it's about sharing openly and having discussions, and what we were talking about before, you know, everything that we talked about which is not healthy, you start bringing into the relationship, and believe me, everything changes. Lucy said about, you know, us sometimes having difficult relationships and bringing things out in each other that sometimes may be uncomfortable, but doing healthy things like, you know, this couples inventory, which is asking each other questions. You know, are we doing certain things for each other? And then we can put these questions down, you know, on the video afterwards, and you guys can try it out yourselves. Try it with your partner, see how it works, let us know. Patience is a key one, isn't it?
Yeah, well, in a relationship, you're both not always going to both move along at exactly the same pace as each other. Yeah. It's not going to happen, because one person will have different strengths and different, I wouldn't really call them weaknesses.
Areas of improvement.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not fair to say weaknesses. I think it's areas of improvement, and the other person will have different ones, completely different ones, and you're not always going to meet exactly in the middle all the time. And that's what we've learned, and what I've learned from the relationship, and what I'm sure you've learned as well, that there are certain things that I have to have patience with Alex, and vice versa, because we're both, you know what, we both were broken people who are still mending, and that is the reality of the situation, that we've been brought together for whatever reason the universe wanted us to be together, but we still have to be honest with ourselves and realise that we are still mending individually. We both are still working on being well and being all of these healthy things that we want and we really desire to work towards. And it takes patience in a relationship when you're in a relationship with someone, and it's not that that's hard work, it's just that is key. When you're, if you both do come from difficult backgrounds as well, you have to realise that you're both bringing a lot into one relationship, and that is going to take work, it's going to take patience, and that's where I think a lot of people do fail, because they both come together as two broken individuals and they think that they're going to mend each other, and that's never going to happen. Never. And I have to be so strict with myself that I continue to do all of this stuff, work on myself, and continue a daily practice, as do you as well, because otherwise this relationship, it won't work.
No.
You know, it's never just going to sail along and just work. That's
No.
unfortunately, that's fairy tales. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Have to maintain it. You have to maintain it like it's a growing business.
Yeah,
really.
it's true. Yeah,
And so you have to look at it, and you have
Yeah.
to do the inventory, and you have to sort through things, and you have to be a little bit business minded about it sometimes. And
Yeah.
oh, how can we improve that? What do we need to do? How can we work together?
Yeah.
You know, it is communicating and being honest with each other of what we need to work through and work on, and that takes
Yeah.
patience.
Yeah, and definitely, and I couldn't agree more. And I think giving each other space sometimes, you know, because as human beings, we all care, we all love each other, and especially when you're in an intimate relationship with somebody as well, or even with friends sometimes as well. You know, friendship sometimes can be a little bit toxic, where, you know, everyone wants to try to mend each other. Oh, because we know each other so well. This is the thing, the only person that knows you inside out is you, you know. And sometimes, you know, in a relationship, it's so good to just give each other a little bit of space, you know, and because we are each other going in, you know, we're going in our own individual journeys. Yes, we are in a relationship, and yes, we have a business, and yes, we do these videos, but individually, we still have our own journeys. You know, we still have our own experiences. We still have, you know, things that we're going to achieve and accomplish on our own. You know, we're both not doing the same thing. I do coaching, Lucy does therapy, you know, and yeah, we come together and we do some incredible things, and, you know, and life is great, but she has her passions, I have mine, you know, and that's where that independence comes in. And I think it's so important to have that, isn't it? You know, it's really
don't
key.
lose yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of my biggest fears, and it's a conversation we had yesterday where
Yeah.
I have to really, like, it's not always easy to approach those conversations, because it can come across to the other person as if I'm saying, I want to be separate from you, I want to do my own thing, when really it's not about that. It's about communicating and saying, look, this is something I've worked really hard for, and that I want to, not in a selfish way, that I want to just make sure that I don't lose that
Yeah.
I've been doing for myself, and fulfilling what I've been dreaming of. And
Yeah.
but it's it's communicating it and having the patience to talk that through, and just saying, look, this is all I'm saying, and in a really constructive way, and not being finger pointing about stuff.
Yes,
And just having that, again, that comes down to the respect, and also leading us on to boundaries as well, and setting healthy boundaries. You can only set boundaries when you know what boundaries are. You can't
Yeah.
just expect to make demands on someone, or to expect someone to behave exactly how you want them to behave, when you don't even know how you should behave yet.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I've really had to learn, and that, you know, I know that you're learning
Yeah,
too, and that we
definitely.
are both learning as a couple.
Yeah,
that
we do.
boundaries doesn't mean putting up walls and putting up barriers and making demands of someone. It's about saying, it's realising what is okay for you, and communicating that to your partner, like we were speaking about earlier, you know, like when sometimes you say things in the car, you know, that you touched on earlier, that boundary for me is that I don't want to be around things that I consider to be toxic, or for people to say things that I don't necessarily feel comfortable with. And that, again, it's not about me saying to Alex, oh, you're doing this, so I don't want to be around someone who's doing that, blah, 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 or being like that. It is respectfully saying that, in a loving and gentle way, and being compassionate and being kind to that person. Because, again, like you said, it's not who you are as a person. These things can pop out because we're human, and
Yeah.
these things do happen. I still have to, you know, remember that will happen for me too. I'm not perfect, but
And these are learned behaviours as well, isn't it? This
Yeah.
is another thing as well. Sometimes we have these learned behaviours, you know, and it's because for us it's all about growing. And, you know, for me and for Lucy, you know, we do it together, we do it independently, and, you know, I want to constantly keep changing, I want to keep evolving, I want to keep growing as a person, you know, mentally, physically, spiritually. This, you know, that's the daily goal for me. So, you know, we've said to each other, you know, we're very kind to each other when we say, do you know what, if we catch each other behaving a certain way, or maybe doing something, and it's just a little bit of a gentle nudge, just to say, you know, take a little look at that. And sometimes it's not nice to hear, but you know what? We accept it. You know, we accept it because we know it doesn't come from anything other than a caring place, and you know, it's really, really important. And I think it kind of brings us to the happiness, isn't there? It's just being happy with each other. You know, it's so important, man. If you're going to be with someone,
you can play around, can't you? You can be childish and you can smack each other's bums and grab onto each other's cheeks and just be silly with each other, because again, like, a relationship is not all about being mature adults and having these conversations and being really, you know, all this stuff. It is about having fun as well, and having fun with each other and doing stupid things. We do plenty of stupid things that we really laugh at each other. That's one of the things someone said, didn't they? We went away for a weekend a while back, and they were in the room next to us, and they said all they heard was us laughing the whole time. And that's not because we stood in front of each other just laughing at each other the whole time. It's because we have that comical side to it. We're very playful. We're very, and we know when we need to be, when things need to be discussed in a serious matter, or not that it has to be serious, but you know that the difference where that is, and how important that is to have fun together,
absolutely.
because that's what a relationship should be as well. Fun. You should have fun with each other.
Exactly, this is it. And I think, listen, relationships should be fun all the time, most of the time. They're not going to be perfect. That's the thing. And I think you've realised from what we described, it's not about perfection. It's about continuous growth, continuous work, you know, but it's doing things that make you happy as an individual and as a couple, you know. And as we described, there are so many things on here, you know, that we do with each other, and it's about passion. It is about being passionate with each other and keeping things fresh, and you know, and
well, sorry, I was going to say, when we've done that inventory, the monthly, we're doing it monthly now, so we've set that we'll do it every month to sit down and go through these questions. Off the back of that, you know, things did come out where, you know, you said to me it would be nice if we did this, and I said to you it would be nice if we did that. And one of the things that we've decided to do every month is to have a date night every month. And then, you know, the first month will be me that has to organise something, and then the next month will be you, and then it's every month we'll do that. And that kind of stuff, you know, keeping on top of doing that kind of stuff to keep the relationship alive and to keep it flourished. And
exactly. Make that commitment to each other. You know, it's so important, especially if, you know, if you want it to last and if you want it to work. And this is it. Some people think, oh, you know, I'm in this broken relationship and it's not, you know, nothing's happening. Take a look at yourself. Are you doing your part? Don't look at the other person. Look at you. Are you doing your part? And that's where it starts. And I think as a couple, if you individually look at your part and you say, am I doing everything? And if you're not, there you go. Start making the changes. Exactly. Start making the changes. So what about some tips? We'll give them a few little tips for, you know, lasting relationships.
Well, also don't let the sex go out the window as well.
Fuck no.
That's really important. I think we need to mention that.
Yeah.
Keep being be sexual with each other, and that doesn't mean you have to get whips and chains and all the rest of it.
Well, get them out if you have to.
Okay, you can, but what I'm saying is though,
go 50 Shades of Grey. Do whatever you like.
If you feel comfortable with doing that with each other, then that's okay. But the point I'm making is that, for me anyway, and I'm sure it is for you as well, that is also another very important part of the relationship, is having a healthy sex life with your partner, and working out if one of you has a higher libido than the other, and how do you come to some kind of common ground where you're both happy with it. You know, it just, a lot of the time it does develop naturally, but sometimes you might have a little bit of a problem with that, and you will have to talk that through. And that is, again, that's about having that communication channel where you already trust each other, where you've spoken about things honestly, so you can sit down and you can say to your partner, I feel that we need to discuss this, whatever it is that you need to discuss. And a lot of the time the thing is with if there are any issues around the whole sexual side of stuff, it is because you both have pasts in that area, and that, again, you're trying to come together as two I'd say it's not broken, but you know what I mean, two people who have been hurt, that have had things done to them that aren't very nice, that has done things to other people that aren't very nice. They're trying to bring this together, and the sexual side of stuff, it might not, again, it might be something again that you need to discuss and you need to work on. And again, don't run away from it, because there might be a bit of an issue there. Don't run away at the first drop of the hat. You can sit down and discuss it with the person, because that's what, if the relationship is worth it, which you might find that it actually is, if you allow yourself to be vulnerable, to say, look, let's talk about this, and the other person might be so surprised that you had the courage to say that, because not a lot of people really do that stuff. It's really important.
And understand as well, listen, this is the closest person you have, in your life when you're in a relationship, and it's about trust them, trust each other, and be open, communicate, talk to each other about these things, because, and again, this is not about pointing fingers, make that very clear, and if you're both watching this and you're both understanding that actually, we both individually have a part to play to make sure that this works. And that's what it's all about, is having those conversations regardless of what it is, especially, if it's a sexual thing as well, working together, because sometimes our past likes to appear, and it keeps dragging us. Exactly. And sometimes, and sometimes it can kind of drag us back, and also it's, sometimes this is where we can take a little bit of love and care and responsibility, that if there is something that makes the other person feel uncomfortable, is what can you do to help that to change? Again, it's not about pointing fingers, it's how can you work together to make these things change? That's what a healthy relationship is all about, and especially when it comes down to that, sex is really, really important.
And you're not touching my bum, right?
Yeah.
Wait a bit.
But we start talking about sex, what happens, isn't it? But,
so tips. Tips for a lasting relationship.
Wow.
First and foremost, work on self.
Yes.
Work on yourself.
Yes. Individually. Yeah. If you're a couple. No, I was just going to say, if you're a couple watching this, take it. Work on yourself. I do. Lucy does.
Yeah. Or if you're not in a relationship, before you get into a relationship, work on yourself.
Yeah. Make some lists.
Make that commitment to yourself, to okay, I've just come out of another crappy relationship. Woe is me. Oh God, what have I done again? Why do I always attract these people to me? Why? Ask yourself that question. What is it that you're doing? It's not always the other person's fault. It's not because they've got a pimply bum, or they've got a fat belly, or that they've got whatever wrong with them that you're finding wrong with them. You've got to realise that you're projecting out to that person, of that person. Your projection of that person is an image of yourself. It's a mirror image of what the faults that you see in yourself. So work on yourself.
Yeah, take responsibility. Yeah, and stop having expectations. Yeah. That's another thing. I wanted to mention that. I needed to get that into the relationship part. We have so many expectations of other people. And, when Lucy touched on about working on yourself, once you start to realise who you are and what you want from life, expectations, you kind of lower expectations, because you just think, what? I just want somebody that I can connect with. It doesn't become materialism. It doesn't become anything else. It becomes real. It becomes real love, doesn't it? Yeah. Which is the next thing. Love.
Tips. Love. Feel that love. Don't feel frightened of it. Allow it to come through. Don't run away from it. Don't put those barriers up. As soon as those feelings start to flourish, And there is the opposite side to that, where you can get obsessed with someone, where you think you're really in love with them when you don't even know them. So having a real kind of realistic view of what love is. If you're feeling in love with someone when you've known them for 3 days, it's not going to be love, unfortunately. It will be a desire to want to be with that person, but mostly probably it will be lust rather than love. Real love grows and develops over time.
Absolutely. And sometimes as well, these things, it's we get really desperate to be wanted, don't we? Some people do. Some people go through these things, and it's interesting you touched on that about, you know, some people obsess about it, obsess about having a relationship, having a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you know, and falling in love. So then when they find this person, and then they fall in love straight away, and then, as you know, as we touched on many examples, is after a while it just becomes this thing where it's not meeting your expectations. Take a look at yourself, have a look in the mirror. You know, don't go and start expecting people to love you when you don't even love yourself. It's not,
And also I think important thing to say about that is that the goalpost will always move. If you're not happy with yourself, the goalpost will always move.
Absolutely.
So that person that you've seen as, he'll have dark hair, he'll be muscly, he'll be tall, he'll have this job, he'll have this job, he'll have this car. No, you won't wink when you know what I'm getting at. He'll have this car, he'll have all these things, and he might tick every single one of those things. What happens is a negative gets added to that list, or he won't meet. What I'm trying to say is that you'll meet someone who will have all of those things, and then you'll find something wrong with them because you're not happy with yourself. And that's, I think, the point that I'm making. And that what will happen is that you'll add something else to that list that person doesn't have, so they won't be all right anymore. Next person,
it's meeting.
Then you might meet that person. Again, you'll
Yeah.
find something else that's wrong with them. Another thing is added to the list. See you later. You're not good enough.
It
will happen over and over again.
Yeah, that's right. It's not meeting the emotional expectation. They could meet all of those things, you know, tall, dark, and handsome, you know, whatever it might be, built, you know, money, job, everything that Lucy described. But then you have a certain expectation of them emotionally, which we all do. We are all searching and looking for somebody in here. It's always in there. But what happens is because we're looking for all of those things first, when they don't meet these things here, we're going to go, what? Is that it? And then you move on to the next person. Then you can go, why is it that I keep getting all these really tall, beautiful, dark, handsome men who have loads of money, or women, you know, blah, 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 blah. But their personalities, or blah, 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 or they're not meeting this, or they're not meeting
whatever
that.
it is
not
that
meeting
you'll
emotional exactly. And a lot of the times where things fail is lack of emotional expectations. So yeah, love, people. Find some true love.
Laughter.
And laugh.
Laugh at each other.
Yeah.
Laugh at each other. We do plenty of that.
Yeah, that is
laugh
very
at
true.
yourself.
Yeah.
Laugh, you know, find things to laugh at. And I think when you love someone and you connect with someone, you find things funny that other people might think, what the hell are they laughing at? And that happens a lot.
Yeah, it does,
you know,
yeah.
we might see a funny coloured pen and we'll be in stitches, and
Yeah.
someone else will just think, the hell is wrong with them?
Yeah,
but
man.
that's when you have a connection with someone that's on another level. It's on an energy kind of level.
Yeah.
And that happens when you work on all these things and you build that trust and you have that. And it's so important to have laughter. Do things that will make you laugh as well. Like we said earlier about being silly with each other and laughing at yourself.
Yeah, don't take life too seriously.
Yeah.
Life's for living, people. Enjoy it. You know what I mean? Make those days count. That's what it's all about. It's, you know, bring passion into it, you know, have some passion in your life.
Yeah.
You know, again, life's too fucking short. Just, you know, and if you're making the most out of it for yourself, imagine how incredible it feels when you're making it the most out of it with someone you love. It's just incredible, you know, to have these memories, to have these things, just to do incredible stuff together. You know, it's just absolutely beautiful.
Well,
know?
I think now it's important to say as well, where, you know, we're going to say dating.
Yeah.
And dating can be, if you are single, dating and having fun with that. And dating, you know, not getting into anything serious, because it's okay. It's not about messing people about. It's about seeing what is acceptable for you and what you like. But But don't be selfish in that. Don't treat people badly. As in, when we say dating, it doesn't mean going and sleeping around with loads of people, because you will hurt people and you will hurt yourself. Dating means going out for dinner, having fun, going ice skating, doing this, you know, having fun with someone of the opposite sex. It's not about shagging around with loads of people, because it's not okay to do that. You know, you end up hurting people and emotionally that's not okay.
And you only hurt yourself as well, isn't it? It's about going into this journey. If you are single, you know, it is about getting to know yourself. And as you're going out there and starting to meet that person, you start to see things slightly differently. So once you start to have self-respect, you're not going to go out there and start doing these things, you know, and you start to behave in that way when something's missing, you know, when you go out there just to try and find something to make you feel different or to make you feel wanted in love, and that's just lust, and that's not what you want. But yeah, dating is really important, you know.
It is, yeah.
And it's fun. Make it fun.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it's all about. Whether you're in a relationship or not, we do. We date, and you know, and now we're kind of taking it a step further. Is we're gonna, you know, have little secrets and try and make things really cool, and that's what it's all about.
Making the effort with
exactly.
each other. Making the effort. I think it's very important to say that, like I said earlier, relationships they take dedication from both sides, and that you know, when you genuinely love someone and you respect them, you want to do that, and you want to put in that effort to so that the relationship works well for both of you. Talking with each other, like we spoke about, communicating, it's really, really important. But talking about the serious things, but also talking about just life, and you know, asking your partner how they are and how do they feel, and did they enjoy this, and do they want to do something, and how was your day, or would you like a drink, you know, whatever. It's just talking to each other. It's not coming in from work and grunting at each other because you might have had a stressful day. That might happen sometimes. It's inevitable, we're human beings, but it's about making the effort to then talk to each other, and just talk. If you have had a stressful day, talk about it. But it's not blaming the other person. It's it's just allowing that person to let that stuff out. So then you can put your arms around them and say, it's okay, let's have a nice dinner together, or let's watch a TV program that we both love, which I was going to say the name of it, but I'm not sure I should do right now. Copyright reasons.
No.
And spending that time together and working on it.
Yeah, and just being honest, being open, have fun, people. And also, stay independent. Don't depend on each other.
Very important.
It's really, really important. Understand that word. Do not depend on each other. You know, have your own separate lives. Go and see your own friends. Go and do your own things. Don't do the whole jealousy thing. You know, if your boyfriend or your girlfriend wants to go out and hang out, go and make some plans then. You know, it's so important, you know, to do that with each other. You know, it brings it all together, doesn't it? You know? And this has been the longest video we've done because it's a really important one.
It's so long.
It's a really important one, and we're not gonna edit it because I think it's really important for every single person to listen to this, and everything we say comes from experience and passion. Simple as that. And you know, some people are going to take some stuff out of this, some people may not, but
some people might not even be watching it anymore because we've rabbited on for over an hour.
Yeah, exactly. But if you have been and you got to the end of the video, you're a superstar. Well done. Yeah, exactly.
A great relationship.
Yeah, exactly. And listen, as always, you know, follow us on our social media. We are, you know, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, at Happy as Larry Group. You can go onto our website, which is www.happyaslarrygroup.com. And stay tuned, people. Stay tuned. Share the love.
Look after yourselves and look after each other, and be respectful and be loving and be kind.
Have an amazing relationship. And if you're single, go find the one. Simple as that. It's lovely. That's what it's all about, people. It's about loving. That's what it is. And listen, have an amazing evening, amazing day, wherever you are in the world. And see you in a couple of days, people. Take care.